Hey, if you have photosensitive epilepsy or anything along those lines, this probably isn't the video for you. Bye!
Hey guys, Ty here, and welcome back to a different video. Thomas and Friends in horror is something that goes surprisingly well together. I mean, living machines? That's something with so much potential. And that potential is something that people have been tapping into for many years. Some that I'm bigger fans of than others. And today I'm going to be talking about a series that I am a massive fan of. That being an ARG called Where Are You? A wonderful series with a story that's still forming. We're going to look into every video and try to piece everything together, as well as having an interview with the series' creator, Seth. These first couple of videos are trailers to set up this concept of the series. From what we can tell so far, this is showing Thomas and Friends very early into production. Both trailers show behind the scenes pictures. The first trailer has us hear a voice message left to David Mitton, with somebody resigning from their position on the show. The line,
I just want you to be, I need you to be 100% sure of who you're working with, okay?
accompanied by this picture, seems super significant. The second trailer goes through text, sort of saying the intention of what the show is, with that intention slowly growing out of control, as well as having a big emphasis on the people figures, with this shot of the turning head and the black void sticking out to me. Overall, we already have quite a bit to work with. Like, who's this guy? He seems dangerous. If so, why is he dangerous? Something is amiss with this production. I suppose we're just going to have to find. This is the first meaty video of the series so far. We start off with a video of a sunset before cutting to a picture of what seems to be a picture of somebody's house, followed by a document with most of the information blacked out. But we can see the signature of one Britt Allcroft at the bottom. And then we see a section of a data process agreement that says that you can't disclose a piece of data about someone without them knowing. And then we see this happy little character. This is the narrator. All we know about them is that they prefer to be called Thomas, and that they're ashamed of their voice. Don't be ashamed, baby girl. I love you. Aww. The last thing we hear from them is a ringing sound before cutting to this. What's referred to as the Z4 is revealed to be from a German federal archive from the 1960s. But we are interested in a piece of film called the N60Z4, later being renamed to NMAT-011 Remove. This piece of film was taken off of German soil, seemingly in 1961 for unknown reasons. It seems to be a test of some sort of machinery, and possibly is about this guy. Is this the guy that Mitten needed to know about? Our character then explains that German copyright sites have the owning company named shortened to the first 3 letters, and that Mattel owns the copyright to the Z4. 15 pieces of film were taken out of Mattel's warehouses, with only 1 being recovered in Germany's Federal Archive. And the footage is seemingly behind the scenes of Thomas and Friends production. How it all connects just doesn't make sense. It's something far worse than something being lost forever. Our character is unraveling a mystery, with their final question being, we end the video with the same ringing we heard from the narrator, with a picture of the man I believe was in the Z4 film. Back to a shorter one. We're shown a piece of merchandise in a German toy shop, seemingly of Edward. Newspaper clippings talk about an event that caused kids to go deaf that the Edward prop was somehow involved in. Where there is sky, there are stars. Where there are stars, there's hands to grab them. The hand is severed. It has no value. We end the video with one of the images from Intermission. This seems to be the piece of media that wasn't recovered by the GFA, with somebody saying,
"This would have to be the most disturbing."
Another short one. All we have to work with here is a bunch of behind the scenes photos and a name. Mine Wagner. And looking into the video's description, it tells us that this video was originally uploaded on January 1st, 2008. Now here's the big one. Shit's about to get weird. So buckle in. We open in a similar way to Intermission, with some handheld footage of the sky late in the day, before being transported to a black void with a man on a bed, staring into a doorway, with a pair of eyes staring back at him. Then we see the only piece of actual Thomas footage that we've seen so far. It's of Thomas and Bertie's great race, but something's off.
"Hello," said Thomas. "Who are you?" "I'm Bertie," said the bus. "Who are you?" "I'm Thomas. I run this branch line." Bertie laughed.
Open, there it is, it's the narrator, baby, let's go!
Oh yes, ja, once because so we see one of memory real Alice Charles Snarps in the red. Will you so the sea's heard now? Will you off this well?
Once again, upon their exit, we hear the ringing that we've become very familiar with so far. We then see the production schedule for what seems to be the pilot. We then see various images of the pilot being made. The models didn't operate how they were meant to, causing the crew to become stressed and have disdain for their work. 2 employees have surviving audio recordings of their grievances, with one of those employees being Mine Wagner from earlier. Mine states that,
With this ARG told me that I have to reinstall all the programming. I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. I get out of hands. I just don't know anymore. I think I'm letting this stuff get to me. This is stupid. I'm getting rid of this.
we then travel to 2004. We find out that the company Child's First Steps are the ones that made Thomas in this universe, and that it's gone bankrupt. Mattel bought the Thomas property and kept all of its archives in a storage unit. Movers explore the facility to see its condition. We find out that there's a big shot that needs certain materials removed from the unit. At various points throughout the section, the footage cuts out and pieces of audio are removed from the transcript, with the audio being so distorted at times that it is impossible to caption. However, we do see that this place is in horrible condition, and that smells of rotted food due to old ration containers. We see that the place was originally used for storing military equipment. Overall, this place isn't looking so hot. Near the rations, there are visual and audio media, as well as documents. One of the pieces of audio seems to be of a therapist calling a mother, named Kelsey, about her child named Lucy.
Good evening, Kelsey. It has been a reoccurring issue and concern of mine that your daughter's effects have gotten worse. I understand that you may feel as if this could have been the sudden change in environment. Moving is very hard for a child, I know, but this appears to be more deeper, internal even. These descriptions and things she does, she sees things, hears things that aren't there. Children her age shouldn't be having these thoughts. I tried to make the conclusion that she may just have a wild imagination, but people don't think like this. A child can't think like this. I want a meeting with Lucy. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Audio log.
I believe that this was what the Big Shot wanted extracted from the storage unit, for reasons that we'll get into later. And then, we see one of my favorite sequences in any piece of Thomas fan content. A slow pan and a slow zoom of the pilot model of Gordon illuminated by a TV screen. It's simple, it's unsettling, and it's some of the most effective horror that I've seen in a piece of Tom's work. I love it. The final chunk of the video is the credits, which introduces an aspect which is going to be more important to the series as it goes on, that being the Beatles.
Thank you, Mr. McCartney.
With Paul saying that he isn't dead, which of course was a popular conspiracy theory. And finally, the floppy disks that we've become very familiar with over the series. This is a re-upload of someone's top 5 Beatles album list, with their favorite being called The Four Heads, which isn't a album. In the description, there's a link to the channel this video originated from, the channel's name being I Upload Content. This channel has a few unused music tracks and confirmation that, apparently, Thomas and the Magic Railroad existed in this universe, which is kind of interesting. But we'll hear a little more about this channel later in Seth's interview. This is just a trailer for the next full episode of the series. A lot more Beatles imagery and the introduction of the Strasbourg Railroad in one shot. We're bound to see the significance of this later. The first chunk is one of those scary story videos, where Thomas eats people at the Strasbourg Railroad. The latter half is somebody saying, "To my dad, I'm tired of your shitty job. Your job freaks me out. I'm taking the next plane back home. I quit. It's impossible to sleep here. A rat or a possum might be in the air ducts." And then, we see footage of the facility that we see in Section 1, before it was abandoned. And then we finally get to see the Four Heads, which seems to be the name that the Beatles went under, possibly while making music for Thomas. This is a series of clues to a riddle. Here I am more than one. I am a shade of blank. I am a shade of blank. I, UPOD, CONT, T. Of course, we know this last clue is I Upload Content. Someone in the comments figured it out and was linked to a scratch game. The game is simply called Lucy's Game. We take control of this little guy to go find Thomas. Once you find him and bring him home, you see this. Uh-oh. This is the final video as of writing the script. This consists of 2 tapes. One is of mine, Wagner, talking about an encounter with a man interested in his work, accompanied by many notes and drawings. One piece in particular standing out to this person, that being the narrator. I believe this is when the narrator was unleashed upon the world. Because after it comes on screen, the man is no longer referred to as he, just it. It's possible that the narrator used this man as a vessel to escape, or he brings the narrator with him, setting itself free. We also see a set of doors that's very similar to the ones the movers explored in section 1, confirming a suspicion that I have, that I'll get into more in the analysis section. This half ends with mine apologizing. The second tape is a data collection test, perhaps of the Z4 from earlier. We see the 4 heads and then Thomas and James. This seems to be a facial memorization test. Alright, let's try to wrap this all up and try to make a solid narrative, which will be tricky because the series is still ongoing. So don't take any of this as absolute fact. In the world of Where Are You, Thomas and Friends had a very troubled production. The company behind it was called Child's First Steps, which worked with Clearwater Studios to make the show, with the Beatles making the soundtrack, with Ringo Starr even narrating the show. There was high stress among the workforce, and the models never acted right. However, it was able to at least get 1 season off the ground, as well as plans to make a movie. One of the crew members was named Mine Wagner. He helped with a military data collection system in the 1960s, which may have gained sentience, later becoming the narrator, with them being stored on a floppy disk until they were unleashed upon the world. Again, all this is pure guesswork. And there's some things that I completely left out. For example, Lucy, her mother, and her ghost problem. The incident with a bunch of children going deaf near the Edward prop, and the biggest hanging thread, I think, I upload content. My working theory is that I upload content's father is Mine Wagner, because they seem to be living in the facility that we see in section 1, and they clearly don't like it, as seen in Haunted Thomas' video. And maybe even, I upload content and Lucy are one and the same. Lucy seems to be haunted by something that isn't really there, and also doesn't like her father's work. And her father would probably have access to a bunch of Thomas footage and music, and it's completely possible that Lucy is being haunted by the narrator, because Mine created it and unintentionally unleashed it upon the world, and his own child. Overall, I think this series is incredible so far, and I didn't do it too much justice just talking about it here, so I would highly suggest that you go and watch it for yourself. The link is in the description. And without further ado, here's the interview with the series' creator, Seth. What was your main inspiration for Where Are You, even outside of Thomas and Unfiction?
My main inspiration for the series was a lot of the older found footage films. I didn't necessarily grow up with these, but I found them very, very interesting even when I was younger, because I thought of them as something very, very realistic, and I didn't even know they were films, which was kind of the point, I guess, that people were trying to make while, doing the stuff. And I honestly wanted to translate that with Thomas in a horror scene, because at the time when I was working on Where Are You, or like getting the groundwork done, I remember there were like a few of them. There's like the TTE archive, I think. I forgot the name of it, but it, like, that type of stuff. But how it all really, really, really started was that I was in a group chat with a couple of friends, and they were like, oh, you can't really make Thomas scary. Like, it's just not a thing you can do, because, it's a talking blue train, and it's like, you can make scary stories, like, within the universe, but itself, it's not really that scary. And I was just like, bet, I'd love to try it, and I created the first channel. I upload content. Originally, that was actually going to be, like, the definitive channel, but I kind of left that off as its own thing within this little universe, and that's kind of where it started. It was a bet, basically. For me, the way I write the story, or at least the concept of everything, is kind of based off of Monument Mythos, which is a sort of analog horror channel that what I like about the series is that in itself, it takes an idea and expands it to such unbelievable lengths that it's like you want to be like, how is that even possible? And it's like, in a way, at least it used to feel grounded. Like, you could see this and be like, oh yeah, this kind of all makes sense, when it's like this absolutely insane idea you can't even imagine hearing. To like, if you were to explain it to someone, you'd be like, you sound insane, but you'd have to watch it in order to understand it.
How did you get into 3D modeling? And what program do you use?
So, I learned 3D modeling 2 years ago, and I'm still running strong. I use Blender. I use two versions. I use Blender 2.79, and then the newest current one. I don't know what version it's on right now. But I create all the stuff there. I use a lot of base images. Like, I just Google images that I think would work. I use a lot of behind-the-scenes photos. There's a lot of wonderful people who help me, like Jamos Tranos, LBESC Thomas. Like, they've, like, all these people, Flying Pringle, they've all helped and provided so many things for me. I am just extremely grateful for those people.
Are you actually a Thomas fan? If so, what era did you grow up with?
For me, I grew up technically during season 11. I was a 2007 baby, but at the time, I think that my parents just did not have, like, they didn't know, I guess, that Thomas was on, like, Nick Jr. or cable, and we had that, and I guess they just, like, they didn't know. But my cousin at the time, who is a little older, had a bunch of Thomas DVDs, and these were all, like, compilations, so they were, like, season 3 through 5, some of season 1 and 2, and all this. And I grew up on mainly the classic series, so I have, like, no attachment towards the hit era. I don't enjoy the CGI stuff. I just grew up with a lot of the simple model things, and that's kind of what I do. That's why I like it so much. It's just it's a very special place in my heart, and I enjoy that. And that's why I think I'm a fan, because I think it's just like, I love how cute everything looks, and I love how amazing it is to me that these people could create such wonderful models. So yeah, I am a fan, and it's just like, it's kind of funny, like, where stuff is gonna take you, and it's like, you're gonna grow up with you're gonna still be modeling a show you watched as a little kid.
Have you had the whole story planned out, or has it changed along the way?
So when I was writing the story at first, there wasn't really a story. It was like, hey, this is an alternate universe where something happens and blah blah blah. It's like, it kind of changes it up a bit. So the story has gone through a few renditions, and it's like, each time I rewrite it, it kind of gets a little crazier in the idea section. It's not going to be like a thing where it's like, oh, this is absolutely mentally insane. But it's like, as it grows, it's going to get crazier as it goes. But it's going to be something everyone can at least understand and latch onto, which I think is pretty fun, a little cool and stuff. But it has changed along the way. It hasn't changed along the way where it's going to, like, definitively destroy the story. It's not going to be like say like a FNAF game where every stuff gets retconned. Everything still is connected in some way. It's just like, it may have changed along the way behind the scenes.
What do you think of other Thomas ARG/on-fiction series? And have any of them inspired your series?
Honestly, not really. Besides maybe like the TTE archive thing where it's like, oh, I uploaded a song or two, because I like that idea of just like uploading little things to make it feel more in-universe. But for the question about how I feel as if it's not definitively, like, known that people should be able to create their own things without taking, like, pure inspiration or ideas, because I've seen, again, a lot of Mandela catalog type copies. I've seen a lot of like FNAF horror copies, and it kind of sucks because it's like you could do your own thing. It's like you can do whatever you want with this. So it's like, and again, I don't care what the art style is. I don't care what the visuals look like. They don't need to look the best. They don't need to look the most amazing. But it's like, if the story or idea is interesting, then do it. Like, go off, do what you want to do, because I feel like that's a thing that everyone should know. Because if the story seems good to you, that's all that matters. If you think it's a story that people are going to like, do it, because you're going to struck gold. Like, for me, example with this series, and I'm not saying like struck gold as in, oh, everybody likes it, but like, personally, you are going to be like, this is a story that I like, and it makes sense, and it's like, it's complete. You feel like it's complete. So that's, that's how I feel about it. I think that's what people should do, and that's how stuff should be made. Be creative. Just be creative. That's all I have to really say on that matter.
Thank you very much, Seth. And thank you for watching. This isn't the kind of video that I usually make, but it's a nice little breaker from the norm. I hope you all enjoyed it, and... Oh, shoot. Hold up. Seems that I left a little bit of the interview out on accident. Silly me. Here you go.
And this one last question, which this was an optional question, viewers. What's the deal with the narrator? So, funny little story. The narrator is just like this goofy little idea I had in mind when